Well, welcome to Richie's Roost in Shaco, Mississippi again. I'm delighted you're here. It has been a gorgeous day today. Man, this is a Mississippi fall day. In the 70s. Beautiful, beautiful blue sky all day. Had a little wind. I was afraid maybe in my outdoor studio here it might create a problem, but it seems to have died, so we're in good shape. Look, last week, I didn't make much of a secret about what I thought of the federal income tax and its sibling state income taxes either. I couldn't find anything really good to say about them, to be honest with you. In doing all this and thinking about it this week, I got a question you may be able to help me with. Now, when they started this thing, let me run through a couple of top marginal rates in the federal income tax, beginning with 1913. In 1913, the top marginal rate was 7%. That's the top. In 1917, 4 years later, they had discovered a new source. The next year, it was 67%. Then 77% in 1918. Of course, that was, in the First World War. But they had discovered a new source of income to finance a war, from 7% to 77% in 5 years. So I got to thinking, that started me thinking, and it ran all the way up from that 7% to, I guess the highest one I saw was this thing I've got in my hand, 92% in 1952. But when you tack on state income tax, there were some people in this state that were paying 95% tax. I know one of them. I drink coffee with him almost every morning. What's the incentive to earn a lot of money if they're just going to take it away from you? Now, we did have it brought back down. It seems reasonable now because it's 37%. That is down from 97, 92, but it's still considerably higher than the original 7%. But that's not the insidious thing about it. The insidious thing about it is they get to know you very well. They get to know your habits, your spending habits, your secrets as to where your money goes, if they decide that's what they want to do. So we're gonna talk about a few audits today. I'll tell you one of mine in case you never had it done. But before we do that, let me ask you this: your help. This is what I need for you to do. To inform me, educate me on how they come up with the numbers, how they come up with the different tax levels. The brackets that they use sometimes are like 76,341 to something else. Where do they come up with those numbers, and how do they come up with those percentages? How do you look into the future and say, well, this many people are going to be 24, this many are going to be married, this many will be divorced, this many will have children, and all of these things, split apart are going to earn this much money each, and they're going to have this much deductions, and in a fluid government like we've got, and then pile on top of that the wonderful, insightful changes that Congress makes to it every year, and the things that they come up with as far as deductions are concerned, and how effective the lobbyists are about what their companies have to spend on taxes. I don't know how they come up with those numbers, and they are incredible numbers taken into how many considerations. How do you come up with a number? I don't know. I would like to know. You probably don't know either. And I never thought to ask. I don't know whether Congress does or not. I guess they're supposed to. But I got a feeling that if I go ask my representative, how exactly do they come up with these numbers at the IRS? And what do you all do to ensure that they're correct? I'll probably get a blank stare and we'd change the subject. I don't know that, but I bet you that's what would happen. But just in case, and I meant to bring out my income tax return for last year just to kind of show you I'm retired. I am a very senior citizen. Sold a couple of pieces of land with the main income I had last year. My income tax return back from the CPA, because I cannot figure how to do it anymore, is about a half-inch thick, something like 100 pages. Simple, very simple to fill out, easy to do. Records, readily available. It's a goat roping every year for me to just get stuff together to get to the CPA. And if I had to do it all myself, I would be in some kind of deep trouble. And I would be in some kind of deep trouble because I'd do it wrong, probably. And if we get an audit like we're going to talk about here in a minute, that just compounds the problem. I want to read to you, though, when I last week when I said I'd like to hear your stories, I got a couple. I got a few. One came that was kind of interesting. I thought you might be interested in. He's a longtime friend of mine. I'd call him an old friend, but he's about the same age as I am. Matter of fact, I would guess within a year, because we went to high school together. But he got that and sent me back this, and I'm going to read it to you. I asked him if I could use his name, and he said, yeah, because it's over and I've done it. Everything's okay. But I won't. Here's his story to me. He said, I got audited by the IRS when I moved to London. After going through thousands of papers and expenditures related to the move, the agent said that I owed $58. I asked him if he was serious, considering the large amount that I'd already paid. He worked for an oil company and they moved him to London. I asked him if he was serious about that small amount, considering the large amount that he'd already paid, but he said he did not smile, just said that this is his calculation. I paid the $58, he said. 4 years later, upon my return to the USA, I got a letter demanding payment of the $58 plus interest and penalty. I sent him a copy of the check that I'd sent him and paid the $59 again. $58 again. I put a hold on the earlier check. 2 years later, they cashed the original check plus the newer one. I gave up. I don't blame him. I would too. Well, let me tell you about mine. And it's pretty typical, I guess. I was still with IBM at the time, and my return was pretty simple. I was running a few cows, just playing out here at Chaco and Richie's Roost. Had 10 or 20 cows. That's probably what generated this thing. But I got a notice from the IRS that they wanted to come to my house and do an audit. Well, my CPA was a good friend. Been using him for years. He's gone now, as most of my good friends are. But I called him and I said, look, I got this missive from the IRS. They want to come out to the house and do an audit. What do you think? He said, what I think is you need to go over here right now, sign a power of attorney to me as far as the taxes are concerned, and let him come and do the audit in my office. I don't want you going through all the stress and strain and worry about having to put up with him at the house and we can do it that way, and he can do his audit here. I'll need all your stuff. I'll need, and they did tell me in the letter, they wanted to see all canceled checks, deposit slips, withdrawal slips, W-2 forms, 1099s, everything for the last 3 years. It took a while to get it together, but I got it and took it to Paul, my CPA, and had it all there in one big stack. I said, okay, here it is. He said, that's good. You got it all, and that's good. I said, when are we going to get together out here? He said, we're not going to get together. I said, what do you mean? He said, you will not be here. I said, the heck I won't, man. We're talking about my money. He said, Jim, I know you too well. He said, the first 5 minutes, you're going to get mad, and you're going to make him mad, and you cannot win that argument. I'm telling you. I reluctantly, after a spirited discussion, agreed to stay away. The guy stayed in his office 3 days, going through my stuff. He said they did. He called me at the end of 3 days, and I said, how'd it go? He said, okay. I said, what do we need? What do I need to do anything? He said, yeah, write me a check for $300 to the IRS. I said, for what? He said, well, he couldn't find anything really wrong, but he contested a depreciation schedule we had for the levee on your pond, where the cows have walked in a path down to, we've got to get it fixed about every 10 years, and we had depreciated that pond, and so it's expensive to get it fixed. We had depreciated over a 10-year period, the work that you'd had done, and he decided, with his knowledge of farming, he probably believed that chocolate milk came from brown cows. He decided a 20-year depreciation schedule would be more appropriate. And he didn't want to talk about the first one, but I couldn't get him off of that one, the 20-year. So the difference came out to be $300. That's what you owe him. I said, I'm not going to pay it. I don't believe that its depreciation schedule is 20 years. Paul said, Jim, you probably win it if you go to court or you have another hearing, but all of the belly juice is going to cost you, stirring your ulcer up again, a lawyer, any additional cost from me, and it's going to go over $300. So just pay him the $300 and get him out of your life and forget it. So I took a deep breath, and that's what I did. I still think it was wrong. But that's what happens. You don't necessarily have to go exactly by the rules, because the rules sometimes can lend to subjective views, and you are considered guilty until proven innocent in those hearings, by the way. So those are my stories about, in case you've never had an audit. They're a lovely thing to go through. I didn't go oh, and by the way, I paid the $300. Then I got the bill from the CPA for the time he spent with the guy. So I wound up paying several $100s. And this is a long time ago, to learn what the correct number was that I had to pay in taxes to the federal government. What a beautiful thing. We're not going to be able to tinker with anything that embedded in our lives around the edges. If it changes, we're going to have to root it out, root and branch, and get rid of the federal income tax. That way we become free men again. The only thing I know that we can do, now there is some talk about a flat tax, that, and I agree that would be more simple, for heaven's sake, than the one we've got now, and probably fair. But the initial problem, the biggest problem, would still be there with the flat tax, and that is that they have absolute control over your financial life. So, I think we ought to go to a consumption tax. I can hear the screams of anguish now from all of the people in the industry that the income tax has become, the CPAs and the tax lawyers and so on. Of course, my CPA told me he didn't like to do taxes anyway. He wanted to be able to help his clients make more money and act as a consultant as opposed to a tax preparer with all the deadlines. So all the CPAs wouldn't be fussing, but a lot of them would. Tax lawyers for sure. The lobbyists might have a problem with it, but some of them wouldn't. I can't go into the, and I think as a consumption tax, there are a lot of very, very bright people that have come up with the fair tax. And that's what I think you ought to look at. I looked at it, and I cannot find any holes. There's some questions, but they answered them for me. You can find them at fairtax.org. And take a look at it and really think about it. We're talking about some pretty high-powered folks that had input into this. And it might get to the point, even if I'll probably never see it in my lifetime because we've got to change the 16th Amendment. But my children and grandchildren will benefit from it if it happens. So go look at it, have a good look at it, talk to your CPA, to your senator, representative. There are some in Congress now who are really taking a look at it, and I hope they can convince some of their cohorts to really take another close look at it. Fairtax.org, or give somebody a call, Fairtax. They'll be glad to talk to you about it. Every state's got some representatives from the Fairtax in it that can talk to you and get involved. So that's my message for today. Glad you could join me. Let me know what you think. There will be some that would scream about it being heavily difficult for the lower income brackets. But I think if you really take a look at what they do to alleviate that problem, it'll make sense too. So take a look at it and let me know what you think. I'm Jim Ritchie, and I'll see you again next time.